Have you ever abruptly ended a friendship and not regretted it? This dude was my first friend when I moved from one part of the country to another. He was incredibly nice towards me, and we both helped each other get through school, etc. High school was a blast. Drinking, smoking and playing Final Fantasy. Fast forward a couple of years, we're still tight, but things have changed a bit in our group. He decided that he would not hang with us all the time because he wanted to calm down on the partying, and that was fine with us. We told him to contact us whenever he's ready to pick up contact again. We never said he couldn't hang out with us or whatever. The door was always open, etc. Now all we know is that he's partying even harder with his new friends. The irony is that he's a follower group wise. He never decides on anything himself. So while he wanted to quit the partying, this only led to him partying more. What bothers me though, is that I as his best friend over all these years never got a single word about anything. He moved to a different place, and just ditched all of us. And now he wants to come back. Well, because his new friends weren't as good friends as he thought. I want to tell him to frick himself, but at the same time, he is my best friend and has been for a lot of years. Any advice? Nope. Had a friend, well, basically an adopted brother, went out with an awful woman who I freaking hated, but he was happy, so didn't say anything. He called me up one night crying and all messed up in a bad way. This woman was screwing with him really hard, manipulating him and crap, so he'd broken up with her and was now super depressed. I talked him down and told him that no one really liked her. It was relevant. He was asking if he'd made the right decision. Anyway, fast forward a few months and he's back with her, still as freaked up as ever. Fast forward a few more months and he's an alcoholic, and bitching at me because I didn't like his girlfriend. Still the crap one that manipulated him and isolated him from friends and family and cheated on him right in front of his eyes. Full stop. So he eventually broke up with the demon wench and is now a serious drinker and moaning about not having money and not having any life experience. So I tell him just go out and do crap. You know? Stop drinking so much. Come over and we can for walks and crap. Whatever. Just telling him that we can just hang and still be buds and do stuff together. Few months later I told him he had a drinking problem and I didn't want to deal with him when he was drinking. That all he did these days was drink and be about crap he could easily change if he actually wanted to. I haven't seen him for more than about 10 minutes since. Addiction is bad, okay? TL. DR. Best friend became an alcoholic. No more best friend. I let my friends decide how things work. I have had people who thought I was their friend get upset with me throwing our friendship away over nothing when in reality they were just upset because I didn't instantly agree with them on whatever wrong decision they were making. I have a sort of scenario that fits with the ups question. Feel free to downvote me if this is the wrong type or whatever. Recently, I broke up with my girlfriend. I, from the outset, decided to take the high road and not reveal anything that she said or did that would paint her in a negative light, as I did wish to one day have some sort of friendship with her. And trust me when I say she had said some nasty things about nearly all of her friends at some point. She did not follow this. She began trashing me to anyone who had ears, which didn't make sense to me because I did a lot for this girl, and even towards the end of the relationship, I tried my damnedest to make it work. Anyway, most of our mutual friends were smart enough to say to themselves the evil Lord Zed isn't really like that and XGF is just wearing her heart on her sleeve. Unfortunately, one of my closest friends, we'll call her Laura, for the past couple of months did not see this. I had done a lot for Laura and helped her through a lot of emotional times and tried to be a great friend to her, and she had, for the most part, done the same for me. But when the breakup happened and XGF got into her ear, she told me that maybe we shouldn't hang out anymore. Right when I was feeling the sting of the breakup, trash talk and needed people. So I offered that if she would not be there for me when I needed friendship and support, like I had done with her, and she was buying into it sucked at first, but I now certainly don't regret it, as Laura was a bad friend all along in the mask of a good friend if this is something that would send her away. Additionally, this whole thing has helped me clean up my friends list and given me a new base from which to relaunch my social adventures. A couple times, a friend made fun of another regarding his dad who recently died of a heart attack, got in his face, Told him to leave. Never spoke again. No regret. Another friend lied under oath to protect his brother, which I understand, but screwed our mutual best friend into probation and a criminal record. Can't trust him. Can't hang. Yes. She insisted on constantly using the word crucial in place of the word cruel. She thought they were interchangeable. It usually went like this. God, coach is such a dong, making us run 3 miles a day through the woods is just crucial. Tiff, I think you mean cruel. No, I mean crucial. Look it up. I literally stopped talking to her one day for only that reason. Couldn't take it anymore. You just have no idea how much that word came up. Never looked back. I'm a guy, a friend of mine, a girl, who had a boyfriend, sent me a word letter in which she told me that her boyfriend told her that our relationship would be very limited from that moment on. We could not meet and we could only chat for 5 minutes. I never contacted her anymore and we totally lost each other. She doesn't deserve my friendship if she can't fight for it, and if she lets his boyfriend control her life. Sometimes it's those people who need the help most. If she's in an abusive relationship, he might have convinced her she needs him, or he knows best, etc. Don't just let someone go because they send you something their significant other told them. Confront them and then make the decision if you can help or if you should close the door behind you. I invited one of my best friends to be in my wedding. He objected to the cost of renting the tux and wouldn't be in the wedding unless I paid for it. I found out a week after I got married that he bought an Xbox instead. That was that. If someone tries to pity party or scam me out of a single dollar, I peace out with no regrets. I have a very low tolerance for that kind of behavior. I have had friends in that past that assumed I was rich. In reality, I was working very hard, at over 60 hours a week, and being very frugal. I am talking beans and rice for weeks. When people whine to me over and over about wanting to go out and having no money, I start making my exit plan. Especially when they keep asking me over and over what I am doing that night. Our cooking can help you with some tips how to make beans awesome. Stopped a friendship with one of my first best friends in high school. Been friends since grade 1. She was getting into hard drugs and was doing anything for money for it. Caught up with her a few months ago. On parole. Had 2 kids taken away from her. Numerous times. First case was a bud of mine who just happened to find himself in a bed with my 2-year relationship's ex a few days after the breakup. Felt fantastic. Anyone who doesn't pay you the same respect you have supplied them does not deserve an inkling of your time. Life's too short to be fixing people and their morals attitude. Yep, I was very close friends with this girl for 3 years, but her family has a history of mental problems and she started acting really weird, and one day I had enough and just told her I didn't want to be friends and cut all contact. It wasn't that I was literally her only friend, or that she would call me crying from work 3 times a week. She'd insist that I come over and watch her dance to her favorite music. Okay, cool. But I had to sleep when she said, wearing a specific set of clothes she gave me. Couldn't sleep in my own clothing, in this frilly ancient bed. If I said no, she would get super pissy. This extended to what bars we went to, where we shopped, and who I was allowed to date. I found out recently that she's gained a bunch of weight and has been trying to make friends with my old friends. I feel bad for her cause I'm pretty sure she's mentally unwell. Super religious family. Sister has bipolar disorder. One is depressed. One parent is an amputee. Ended it about a year and a half ago. Looking back at it, it was a pretty funny time, but here's the story. Went out with her and her boyfriend. Everyone drank 1 drink and we drove back home with a tram. She and her BF were a little tipsy. Not drunk though. Suddenly her BF started to talk about W and how he fricked one when he was 14 years old, blah blah. She gets mad about it and goes away. He then tells me that she is a W who would do everything. Next day, she promised me that we would go to McDonald's last night. I call her. She tells me that she wants to go there at evening. Okay for me, whatever. Some friends ask me if I want to go out with them to a restaurant. I say no because I actually trusted her to still call me, despite it already being 9 PM. So she didn't call me and I got quite mad but found an excuse for myself and made up that she was mad on me without a purpose. I text her and ask her if she is mad. She responds, "No, I was just going swimming with some friends." No excuse, no regret, not even a single bit of feeling sorry. So I flipped out about it and told her what her boyfriend said, and then she texted me that she was at his house and sleeping over at his house, and this is the shittiest time to tell her. She starts to cry and all that drama. I started to feel sorry for her and offer her to come over with my bike at 2 AM and bring her home. She says yes please. I come and she just wants me to talk to her boyfriend and argue with him, then still stays with him. 1 week later, my birthday, she promised me that we would do our 2-man party over at my house. I ask her to come. She says no, have to go to a restaurant with my parents. I always was there for her and this is what I got from it. Stupid B. TL. TR. Her BF says she SAW that would do everything. She walks out on me next day. I get mad and tell her. She walks out on me 1 week later again despite it being my birthday. I was there for her all the time when she needed help and that is what I got from it. Sorry for grammar language. English is my second language. Sure have. I only had one friend in junior high school and he was only my friend when no one else was around because I was a bit of a nerd. In public he'd make fun of me and put me down. Well, we lost contact for a long time because his family moved away. I tripped across him on Facebook a little while ago and caught up a bit. He was pretty much exactly the same as when we were in high school. At first we talked and I just laughed it off when I realized he wasn't interested in talking. He was only interested in showing how superior he was to me. But then he started commenting on Facebook and on my blog posts, putting down my accomplishments in front of my other friends. I realized at that point that the relationship in the past had been about me seeking his approval, and that I was never going to get it. He was only interested in making himself feel superior by demeaning everyone else. I also realized that I'm over 30 years old now and don't have to put up with it, so I abruptly unfriended and blocked him with no explanation. It was really a freeing feeling. As someone who has always sought resolution and approval, this was an important step for me, I think. I still catch myself thinking every so often that I should have told him why I did that. But then I remember that I don't need his approval or acceptance. He's out of my life and that's the end of that chapter. Yep, she constantly borrowed money from me when we were teenagers, never paid it back. She would come to get-togethers with friends with absolutely no cash and our mutual friend paid for her nearly every time. You'd think the worst parts were when she decided to talk all about how upset she was that her boyfriend had dumped her. A few days after my mom died, pulled the same crap after I'd had surgery. She was visiting me and then she argues with her boyfriend and gets dumped, while I quietly got up and walked up and down the hallway of my building. But no, those weren't the worst things. She's dating a neo-Nazi, and including me, most of her friends are not white. Good riddance. I was best friends on and off with this girl from 4th grade through college. We went through periods of no contact, and then we'd suddenly be best friends again at random times. We were very different sorts of people. She was bubbly and liked pop music. I was the closest my crappy suburban high school got to goth. One of the last times I saw her, it was at her engagement party. The best man was there. He was someone with whom I'd never gotten along. He was always making inappropriate comments to me regarding my body, and he'd do it right in front of his girlfriend. Freaking classy. So, at the engagement party, my then boyfriend and I were walking out to say goodbye to my friend, when the best man grabbed my butt as I walked by. I slapped him as hard as I could, right in the middle of the party, among friends and family, and screamed in his face. He'd not only grabbed my butt, but in front of my boyfriend and his girlfriend. Entirely unacceptable. And when I told my friend about it, she took his side. A few days or weeks later she said he's sorry about it. So just get over it. He'd never apologized to me. I knew then, as I'd suspected for a long time, that I needed to get away from that circle of friends. I'm a closet case that has never admitted he's gay to anyone in real life. My best friend in uni, pretty much a bromance, came out to me, which was a total shock because he had loads of girlfriends during college and I never once suspected he might like guys. Anyway, me being closeted, it cut kinda close to the bone and I freaked out a little. I was totally supportive for him, but I admitted it was a shock. He took this to mean EWW, a gay, and got very defensive, including saying a few things about my bad reaction when he came out to other people. So anyway, we were bitching with each other, and things were kinda okay. But it was tense okay, not best friends okay. And one day I made a jokey gay comment to which he got extremely defensive and I was like frick it, that's it, and stopped talking to him. Despite trying to re-establish contact over the last year, I've been met by silent treatment. I think the hardest part is knowing that he was in the exact same position as I am, and that the only way to truly make him see why I was a bee about things is if I come out to him, which I won't. Got a messy situation. My fiance and I had this couple that we were friends with, and the four of us would hang out together often. The other couple was in an open marriage, which was fine because they never tried to persuade us to partake with them. The guy in the couple often tried to pick up women who were married or in serious relationships, which should have been a warning sign to us, but we gave him the benefit of the doubt since he never once tried to make a move on me. One time my fiance was at a bachelor party, and it also happened to be a drinking holiday, so I got together with the married couple and two other friends for some fun. The wife in the couple left early since she had to go to work the next day, and after she left, her husband and I were just standing around drinking beer and chatting. After a while I started throwing up. I'm usually good with beer. It's hard alcohol that makes me sick, and was confused how I got so drunk. I was texting my fiance to come get me, but he got stuck having to drive lots of people home from the bachelor party, so he couldn't get me for a while. Eventually I ended up making it home. The next morning one of my friends who was there called me and asked if I remembered anything. Turns out the guy in the married couple was putting whiskey in my beer and told my friend while I was puking in the bathroom that he did it so I would loosen up and have sex with him. We cut contact that day and have never looked back. We lost a few mutual friends over it, who justify his behavior as oh well he was drunk and didn't really mean it. We're still really happy with our decision though. Yes, I had a friend for a while who seemed cool at first, but then he turned into a racist butthole all of a sudden. I just ignored him. I was told one of my friends had joined the KKK. When I asked him about it, he said he didn't join but only went to one meeting. I told him I did not to associate with him anymore. Well, someone ended a friendship with me over some random Chinese chick he talked to. He'd make her feel like complete trash, telling her he loved her but then acting like he hated her. She was so in love with him. She talked to me about it all the time, and being the good friend I am, only listened and gave her what advice I could. That is, if he's hurting you emotionally now, what makes you think it'll stop in the future? Anyway, a few weeks later she starts asking me if I wanted to date her and if I had room in my heart for her. I told her I didn't, as I'm already in a relationship, but she wouldn't stop asking. Every day, she'd send me little hearts and little messages and those kinds of things. I told her to stop. She was relentless. Eventually, I caved in and told her I loved her as well just to shut her up a bit. What did she do? Screen capped it and sent it to my friend to try and make him jealous. His reaction? Delete me from Steam, Skype, Facebook, etc. Of course she wants me to forgive her for what she did, i.e., destroying a 5+ year-old friendship, but I just can't. It sucks, because I know she's not a bad person, but I can't stand being lied to like that. Being used for some stupid crap you'd only see in the shittiest TV series. Not only that, but now I have to live with the guilt that I betrayed myself. So now I just ignore her when she talks to me and only answer the briefest answers when I feel like it. Sorry, had to vent. Been almost a month now and I still feel a little sad about it. Not as bad as some breakups, but it's still pretty tough to lose one of your best friends for something as stupid as that. Anyway, I don't regret him terminating the friendship so much, because the more I think about it, the more I realize how much of a dong he was and how much of a manipulative drama queen she was. Eventually, I caved in and told her I loved her as well just to shut her up a bit. What? Yes, I cut ties with a guy I'd been friends with for 35 years since 2nd grade. His mother was like an aunt to me, and the same with him. When my mother died, a small thing he said kinda shocked me. Thinking about that led me to see a lot of little things he'd said done over the years, and I realized the only thing we had after all that time was history. It had been pretty one-sided, but I hadn't really seen it until then. Figured I was better off without, and haven't regretted it since. Everyone who reads this wants to know what that small thing he said that shocked you was. Everyone. I've ended friendships I knew weren't positive. I'd hang out with these people all the time and they were crappy friendships based on mutual dislikes and sarcasm. I want people I can care about and who care about me for friends. It's actually not that hard to find one or two. Now I'm looking for friends who really have the same passions as me. I'd love to have people to work with on common goals. Had a friend since junior high school that, in retrospect, was the biggest loser I've ever met. The guy lived on EverQuest and WoW during college and had absolutely no respect for friends or family. His own family disowned him several times because he would pick the trashiest women over his family. He had a girlfriend that everyone hated who would cheat on him at his own place with a guy that was a friend of hers that he let live with them. She would also leave at 10 PM every night and claim she was going to go to her friend's house. It was obvious she was going to cheat on him. After his family and I trying to speak to him, he still chose her over everyone else and his family disowned him. I learned that the last 4 girlfriends that broke up with me did so because this piece of garbage would tell them all kinds of BS about how I cheated on them and how I messed around. I didn't. The last straw was after I confronted him about this. He broke down and apologized. Then months later, did it again with a woman I was absolutely crazy about. He tried to make up several times and lied about the W he was supposedly not with anymore. I got the guy a federal job, stuck my neck out on this one, because he was unemployable. I made him promise to not mess it up and just coast through 1 year and then become untouchable. No one gets fired from federal positions. He did. He also ruined my reputation at that gov facility so bad that I had to leave. After he was fired, I was told it was because he would bring his GF to work and she would annoy the living heck out of everyone. He also missed 3 out of 5 working days regularly. Good riddance. The guy was a total drag, the biggest loser I've ever met, and a miserable human being. Dude, you did an awesome job as a friend. Sadly, he still remained a fkin loser. Yes, I ended a 20-year friendship about 3 years ago. My best friend had slowly started to get weird, I guess, a few years beforehand, so I guess I saw it coming. It got worse when I began living on my own. To this day she has never lived on her own and still lives with her mother. She became uninterested in talking about anything unless it was bad crap that was happening to me or gossip about other people. I had stopped going out to parties and stuff with her because all she did when drunk was tell embarrassing stories about me to everyone so she'd have an in with the people she was trying to impress. Anyway, 2010 comes. Someone starts a nasty and untrue rumor about me at work. My employment environment was like reliving junior high all over again. My friend comes up to me, not privately, oh no, but flat out in the middle of the floor in front of everyone. What did it for me was she had this look on her face, not a look of concern. No, it was a look that said, I'm gonna get the inside scoop on this and go back to my corner and use the info to get in good with my corner mates. I haven't spoken to her since. Buddy from high school. We hung out a bunch and we used to go to my house at lunch and play Guitar Hero and smoke weed. He ended up breaking into my house and stealing my Xbox 360, my sister's laptop and most of my mom's gold jewelry. Called the cops, they did crap all about it. Never talked to him again. I had a friend who moved to Germany to be with her boyfriend. I told her I was trying to get the money together to visit her, but I then lost my job. I told her I couldn't make it and she bitched me out for making her believe I could. I told her crap wasn't very good for me, but thanks for asking and to frick off. In retrospect, we were both very stressed, her homesick and me poor. I wish I could undo it. She was great. I was in the process of doing this very recently, when we got so far in talks and I realized there was no way I could let that particular friend go no matter how much he annoyed me. Friendships are like relationships where the ties are much harder to sever. I thought this was true too. The friend in question latched on for years. Finally, I snapped and it was probably worse than explaining how toxic the relationship was for me and how much I really hated being with them. Harder, but nicer than what ended up happening. I won't go too in detail about it, but a friend of mine basically supported my first girlfriend in breaking up with me, then going out with her a week, yes, 1 week later, and broke up with her a month after that. I didn't blame him. She was real, yes, so I stayed friends with him. We became really good friends, and we were planning to get a share house together. We'd searched around to find the best places, checked prices, and prepared. We'd also planned to record ourselves playing games, doing let's plays and stuff. One day, he tells me he got a call from our ex-girlfriend and that she wanted him to move in with her because her boyfriend, who got her pregnant at 17, as per her plan for years, kicked her out. He decided that was the best option, and took it. It took me about a week to finally decide I was no longer his friend and would no longer stay in contact, but I knew pretty much instantly that's what would happen. Fast forward for 6 months, we'd cross paths in online games with other friends, but not really spoken. He decides to talk to me over Skype and tell me how things had been for the last few months. Ex-girlfriend had refused to respond to him, and he had received an unhealthy amount of verbal abuse from her boyfriend. His work was terrible. He had to travel 3 hours each day to get to work uni, and he had an overall terrible time. He told me how terrible a mistake he'd made, and how much he'd missed our friendship. Apparently we're dang similar, and he really missed out intellectual conversations. I accepted him back as a friend, slowly, over a month or two. Now, he seems to have a lot more respect for me. He was always a bit dickish. We are working towards getting our YouTube account up and running. I'm much more confident and independent, and our friendship is much more mutual and healthy. So I guess I got the happy ending. So much for not going into detail. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.